prices.
Yeah, right. And so that I wouldn't have to negotiate, and so that no one would ever feel like I had taken them, because it's a small community, and I don't want to be that guy. And now I'm like twisted up and stuff. Like Ed would have gotten $7,000 for it. Maybe I'm being dumb, throwing away money. Whereas I walked away thinking I gave a good deal to a guy who could appreciate it. And
you got your small community thing though. And it's a
This
veteran,
is a paramotor
right?
flown by
Active
me,
duty.
a
And
famous
I know that
YouTuber.
I know you don't think much of
That's not true.
What do you call them? Scum? I'm kidding. But you know, I think you did a good thing there. Like it's a little different. Like I've you know, I fucked some people over the you know, like a lady came in and we sat down before she even got to go on the lot, and you know, what are you looking for? Do you want? And she knew what kind of car, and I don't remember what it was, but let's just say she wanted a 2004 Corolla. So like, you know, we've got 3 of them, and this one's a 2002, this one's a 2003, and this is a 2004, and I pull all 3 of them up to the door, but before I do it, I change the prices on all of them. I make them all $3,000 more expensive. So we go out there, and I'm like, you know what? This is this one. This is that one. These are the differences. This is why they're about $1,000 more for each one. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm in a hurry today. If you want to buy a car today, cha-cha, $3,000 discount across the board. What do you say? And she's just like, holy shit, you're just gonna rip $3,000 off? I was like, if we can do it right now, I gotta get out of here. I got a plane to catch, and I'm not going any fucking where.
I gotta go to the LA Swindlers Convention.
but to his point, like, she was so happy with the deal she was getting and the quality of. She thought she just gotten a great deal, so she was very happy about everything. She loved me this whole way through. She's just like, this young man right here has it. He is a treasure. You know, she's just tickled pink, and she's paid the sticker price. And we had a code built into our sticker prices where the last number in the price, let's say it's 19,991, it's going to be 991, 992, 993, or 994. And that last number is letting me know how much this car has been discounted. It probably came in and we put like $5,000 profit on it, or $4,000. And every time they discount the second number in the price, which is $1,000 off the price, they change the last number too, to give the salesman an idea of how many times it's been discounted. I know we've got at least $3,000 on the front end of each one of these cars, 3 or 4. So I'm doing pretty fucking well already. So, you know, she's paying $3,000 to $4,000 profit on the front end, but she thinks she just got $3,000 taken off. You know, it kind of put that lady together a little bit. And then there was another lady.
You knocked her head off.
I knocked her head off.
Does knock your head off mean take advantage of someone?
No, not take advantage.
Make a ton of profit.
It means I did my job well that day.
Seems to mean both.
Potato.
But it's sales, you know, I'm not going to judge.
I sold a lady a new Focus one time, and I got the sales sheet, and I sat down and I started. Sometimes I get ahead of myself, and I would just see what I could do, because I feel like you can always ask forgiveness later. You can always say there was a mistake, or, oh, well, that's not supposed to say that, or, you know, they expect the price to be a little iffy. So I just blacked out what my manager wrote, and I told her that it was an extra $2,000 as we sat down, and she agreed to it, and it was a new Focus. And I go back up there with a signature. My manager's like, did you just sell a Ford Focus at a premium? Did you just sell a Ford Focus for $2,000 over sticker price? I was like, I sold permaplate too. Which is this bullshit fabric. And
what is permaplate?
Permaplate was a lie. I was told we didn't even put it on the cars, but we would sell it for, I think, $695. And essentially it's a warranty against stains and like acid rain spots and bullshit like that. And I never saw anyone ever come in and be like, hey, I bought the permaplate, stain right here on my seat, fix it. Never happened once. But for $695, we would sell that stuff to you. And I had this whole kit on my desk where I'd stain a little swatch of fabric, and I'd spray some shit on, just wipe it right off, you know, coffee or whatever. Usually coffee, because we got the coffee maker right there. I'd just pour the coffee on it, be like, this has permaplate on it, this doesn't. And that would sell people for $700 of just extra gross. So like I sold her so high over sticker that they wouldn't even finance it at that. Like, she got into finance and they were like, the financial institution says, you know, this is too much. for this car. Like she's gonna owe so much more than this car is worth on day one. Like they won't even do it. And I'm like, we'll find out exactly what they will do.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna come in and be and be like, you know what? You're the 100th customer. Holy shit! This happens once a month, but $1,100 discount. And she's just like, oh, Mr. Kyle, I am so my lucky day, new car, 100th customer. Oh, she was so happy. She was so happy. That was the same lady who told me. She was like, it was nearing Christmas, and she had a kid with her.
In this story, she's gone from Little House on the Prairie to Kimmy's Vietnamese mom.
Oh no, this is a little Spanish lady.
Okay.
Yeah, and she had her little kid with her, and she said something along the lines of, "But if I pay this much for the car, there can be no Christmas for the children." And I said, "What's a better Christmas gift than a brand new car?" Looking at the kid, I was like, "Don't you want a new car?"
I know
You
when
like
I
the
was a
blue?
kid, if my mom had a Focus, it would make Christmas.
Yeah.
I was like, we talked about that Ford safety sensing system, didn't we? It's going to weigh little Javier and make sure those airbags come out just the right speed. Don't forget, you want to keep his little noggins. And yes,
But Mama, I wanted the Super Soaker this year.
shut up, Javier. I gave you candy. Javier was sold, though. It went well. That was one of my favorite moments. Just couldn't. My manager's face when I sold that, and I did that also on like the most undesirable car of all time. It was the Ford
CrossFit.
It was like a freestyle, I think.
Uh,
It was the 500 wagon, essentially. It was on like this Volvo chassis that was like lumbering, and it was hideous. It was in this green color too, like this pea green puke.
Rare color.
It was
It
was awful. It was awful. And this British guy came in, and I must have
Racing color of the UK.
Hello, sir. This seems to compliment my teeth.
Jesus Christ.
and like I would always get real hyped up when I sold cars. I would drink a lot. I was drinking a lot of Red Bull. I would go to the gas station. I'd buy 4 Red Bulls, and I would take like those giant like 40-ounce cups they have, and I'd dump them all in there, and I'd chug it down, and I'd start my day. I wanted to be wired because the guy who trained me was like that. He was this very high energy black guy, and he was loud and boisterous, and he's like, "We're gonna do a car deal today." It was a show and a dance, and I tried to emulate that as like a 19-year-old white boy, and so I did. And so I'm just, when this guy expressed interest in this disgusting car that we all hated and knew was going to be discontinued any moment, I was like, well, you better snatch this thing up, sir. You better snatch it up quick, because this thing car right here, especially in this color, the lime vomit green color, oh, it is desirable. I've had 3 calls today. People, I got appointments all weekend. We really need to get this thing wrapped up this week. And he's like, well, I guess I should head on over to the credit union and get a check forthwith. And he does. And I was like, well, we need to work out a price before you can go get your credit union check, And I did the same thing. I bumped the price $2,000, just scribbled it out and wrote it and sold a Ford's most disgusting car of all time, perhaps, at a premium. And I just remember my manager being like, you fucked up for this one. I would never do no shit like this to somebody. You fucked up for this one. I sign off on it. But finance ain't gonna do it. I'm like, he's got a credit union. He's like, oh fuck. All right. I'm signing off on it. My hands are washed.
So Ed, do you get fools like that? You're selling exotic cars. I imagine you have clients with expertise coming in. No.
Some do, yeah, sure. But like, for instance, you talk about how much a bank will finance on a car. A lot of times, banks in general will finance about 110% of MSRP. And so they're planning on some taxes, maybe a little bit of negative equity, maybe some, perma-stain junk, put on there. And then they kind of know they're playing ball with the dealers. And as long as nobody tries to sell a car rather immediately, owing 110% of MSRP is a bad idea, but not something that, could not be overcome if they own the car 2-3 years and they come try to trade.
Mm-hmm.
However, if there is a gigantic rebate on the car, especially early on before they figure out that's a big liability they've got, it can be a massive problem. So we set the Cannonball record in October of 13. We got the McLaren franchise in about September. So we had just gotten them. And whenever you take on a new franchise, particularly as an exotic store, you agree to take on a ton of inventory that is unsellable. Like it has the wrong options. It's just the worst stuff. You know, they usually have 1 or 2 cars. So it's not like it's a 500 wagon that nobody wants. I mean, they want the cars, but they didn't want that one because it has like a stupid cost for some option that nobody cares about. So we had 21 2014 McLaren 12C Spiders in stock. And they'd already announced the replacement. And there was a $60,000 rebate on them, as I recall.
How much are they?
They're $300,000. No, so I had about it was a $40,000 rebate and maybe a little bit more if we needed it. Like it's kind of a flexible rebate, but it was at least 40. So I had $30,000 in markup. So I had about $70,000 to $80,000 to discount these cars, and I could finance about $330,000. So it was one of those things where, as everybody was calling me, congratulating me, asking me about the record, like talking about that, I was like, well, hey, what do you think you owe on whatever? Like, and it didn't matter. Like literally, I could bury at least $100,000 of negative equity on a car. And so if they wanted a different car, you could always do the deal. But of course, the cars weren't worth what I was selling them at. Like, I mean, you had to try to sell them. And they were paying us a $6,000 flat to sell each of them. And I sold 20 out of the 21. And every one of the guys, like, you couldn't answer their phone calls anymore because they're so upside down. I mean, like, you could never trade them because it was impossible. But yeah, made a lot of money that month.
Do you ever, did you ever sell used inventory?
Tons, yeah, absolutely. About like 70 or 80% used.
You ever have customers come back and serious issues with the car, and you know that, like, you're not the dealer, but you sold them a car with some serious issues and feel bad about it?
Yeah, but generally I could essentially, at that point, I'm more on the customer side because I have to maintain the relationship. So I'm trying to convince the dealer to take care of it. And in most cases they would. Like, you know, bad reviews are expensive. I mean, if you're at a Ford store,
not so much.
They don't care.
Yeah.
Oh, when I bought my 300 like 8-9 years ago, whatever it was, like I went, and before I got the black one, I had a navy blue one very briefly. And I went in and I got it and I drove it off the lot to a friend's house because I had plans to hang out that day, whatever summer it was. And I get there, I get out, hang out with my friends for a couple hours.
Car, Taylor?
It's a used car, yeah. And I come back, hop in it, back out of their driveway, and start to drive away. And it like starts gassing and steaming and smoking immediately. And the car just will not run. Like it's just making a bunch of weird noises, and I'm not car savvy enough to know. So I just get out of it after it's like totally died and just have to call them and be like, hey, you know that car I bought at noon today? Yeah, there's gas and smoke and stuff pouring out of it. This is fucking ridiculous. I want a new car, a different one of these at a discount. And so I went back and got like the V8 Hemi version for a slightly cheaper price, which has actually cost me a lot more money in the long run with gas.
Yeah, for sure. I sold a lady a convertible Mustang one time, a used one, and she was very happy. But then she's always calling me, like the sunroof, the roof leaks, and I'm just like, well, bring it in and talk to the manager. I was like, I can't do anything about it. I'm sorry that it leaks. And she's like, and it makes this awful noise on the highway. And I'm like, again, you have to come in and talk to Dimitri about that, because that's not my area of expertise. He's the used car guy.
It sounds like someone's kicking and screaming in the trunk.
She comes in and I'm like, Dimitri, the lady with the Mustang's here, the one the leaky sunroof and the one that makes the noise. And he comes over and she's like, yeah, whenever I get above 80 on the highway, it just makes this awful noise. And he goes, ma'am, speed limit is 70 miles per hour. Stay below 70, you'll have no trouble. I'm just sitting there like, he's got a good point.
I like to think that doesn't fly at the McLaren dealership.
Well, so we had as carbon ceramic brakes have become standard equipment on so many cars, carbon ceramic brakes squeak really badly if you don't use them up to temperature. So if you just drive it like a normal car and not like a race car, it can be extremely loud when you try to brake. And the only way to fix it is to go really fast and brake really hard. And so we would sell these guys these cars, and a week later they come in and they're like, especially on Ferrari Californias for some reason, because people buy them to drive them more like Mercedes or BMWs. And so they would bring them back in and say, oh, the brakes squeak so bad. I feel like I need them. And literally every time they just throw me the keys, and I would be like, distract this dude for a little bit. And I would go out and do our test drive lap and just run it up to 150 miles an hour. And you can't stomp on the brakes. You have to very aggressively and firmly apply them. And you don't need to stop all the way. But if you just brake down to like 50 and then accelerate back up and then brake hard down to 50, it'll scuff off the top of the pad and it'll work just fine.
That sounds like a good time. Is it a good time or does that wear out?
No, because you kind of like at that point, like if you get pulled over going 150 miles an hour, doing your standard procedure of doing, like, they didn't care. It was not a big deal.
Like, if you asked me to do that, that might be the coolest thing I do this month, right? but if you do it a lot, like it's work, right? It's the job.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I mean, we still had to sell cars that were like in weird situations. Like we had one guy, McLaren's. There's about a 100% chance that they will break in the first week that someone owns one. And we had a guy who complained enough that we ended up essentially creating a deal where he got a different new one. We didn't really lemon law the car, but it had enough issues that we just let him have another one. But he put like 300 miles on it, but the warranty was started. They call that being punched. And so it was kind of punched as a demo in inventory for a little while. But I sold it to this guy who, for tax purposes, like had to buy an untitled car. And I had been told by the general manager that did the deal to get the car back that it had not been titled. It was still absolutely a brand new car. But what had happened was they had titled it initially in another state. And he had made our title clerk contact that state on a daily basis, pull the title out, and essentially rip up the new title that was made so that it could stay new and he wouldn't have to sell it as a used car, which is like super illegal. And I sell the car in good faith saying, look, I've been told by the person who did the deal that it is absolutely a new car. And in his head it was, but since that title was created and printed, not in 1948, but in 2014 or 15, it absolutely showed up. So this guy starts to find some issues with his car and he decides to pull a Carfax on it. And it shows like a title issued in another state at a lower mileage, and he freaks out. And I tell him, like, look, there's only two possible explanations for this. I said, the first is that we are the most dishonest people that have ever walked the earth.
Ding, ding, ding.
And I said, but the second option is we are absolute morons and don't know what we're doing. And I want to make sure that you understand before we talk any further that it is the second option. And we don't have a clue. And so we ended up kind of essentially doing the same thing again, giving him another new car in exchange for that one. But the title clerk was like, she came up to me during the deal and said, do whatever he wants because I am not testifying on this one. Okay.
I am not taking the word of any car salesman after this discussion. I'm going to always assume the duplicitous angle, I think.
Well,
I think Woody's on the same page.
Well, you get asked to do stuff that, because you're kind of like the hired gun as the sales guy. You're beholden to your bosses to do what they tell you to. Like I mentioned before that my general manager crashed a car running through a stoplight that he didn't know was red. Well, that wasn't a car we owned at the time. I was trying to sell a Nissan GTR to a repeat customer I'd done a ton of business with, was a really nice guy. And he was trading a C63 Mercedes. And so generally the sales manager or the general manager would take it for a ride around the block, especially if it's out of warranty, see if there's any lights on, any misalignment or anything, just kind of look at the car to appraise it. So I'm in the process of talking to this guy, and I see across the showroom, another one of my sales guys answers the phone and I just hear his side of the conversation. Obviously, he goes, "Oh no." He says, "Are you okay?" And I go, "Oh, darn it." And so I was like, I told this guy, give me a second, I'm going to walk in here. And I saw him also beelining into the sales manager's office that was going to kind of tell us what to do. And he says, all right, so-and-so just crashed the car. It is 100% totaled. He's going to be in an ambulance on the way to the hospital. So my sales manager could have said, all right, let's go tell this guy what's happened to his car, and we'll work out something that's very reasonable. We'll take full responsibility. That's not what he said. He goes, Ed, sell that car in the next 5 minutes before he wonders where his trade is. And I'm like, well, I mean, this guy normally takes like 3-4 hours to negotiate a car deal. So I go, well, that sounds like a fun game to play. I'll go do it. And I did it. I talked him into it. And so finally he's like, all right, I'm going to go start getting some stuff out of my car. I was like, you know what? Nope. We're going to have a porter do that. Don't you worry about your old car. I'll get your plate, everything off of it. He's like, yeah, all right. Well, my golf clubs are in the truck. I'm like, okay, all right. So we get out there. Trunk is like demolished. It's just like, I'm like, you know what? I think we're going to bring those to you tomorrow. I'm not sure they fit in the GTR's trunk. And he's like, okay. So, and finally, like it takes, we eventually tell him that, hey, so-and-so crashed your car. He's fine. Everybody's fine ish. And it's yours. And he was actually really worried that it was like going to undo the deal at that point because he'd become very excited about his new car. So it worked quite well. Like he stayed very happy with the whole thing, but I guess there was some leverage he didn't get to use against us.
You guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe we're not trustworthy people.
I keep thinking about, I am a sheep, a lamb in this world.
You are a lemming, sir.
Yeah.
Following the likes of Kyle and Ed off the price cliff.
You're selling a product, right? You're selling a product. The sticker price is there. It's not like we're going above. Well,
no. I'm like from a sales perspective, I've got a lot of respect for this. This is really intense stuff. But you always hear this stuff about car salesmen and the whole industry of car sales, and then to hear it firsthand, it's like, oh wow, like. A lot of those aren't myths.
It's mostly like the ever used cars, though, unless the person's really dumb. Because used cars, they don't know what you took the car in on. You may have bamboozled the person who traded that car in, and so if you can double bamboozle, if you can bamboozle the guy who buys it, then you could make a $12,000 profit. Maybe you gave the guy $6,000 less than what the trade-in was made, and then you sell it for $6,000 more than it's worth, and you can really go to town. I did that once with an excursion, like when I took it down on trade, I was like, man, look at the gas prices out there. And this was like 2005. Gas was maybe close to $4 a gallon in Atlanta. It was like, look at the gas prices. This thing, you got a V10 excursion here. And that's not even the desirable one, just really downselling the thing. But then when I go to sell it, this is a premier vehicle. You got the V10. All right, that's the good one.
It's the biggest number.
It's more V's than anything else. Yeah,
this is literally
the most
SUV.
V's you could get.
This is literally the largest SUV ever made by a man. All right, they're discontinued. That's how big they are. You can fit a smart car in the back hatch of this truck. Okay,
these are so popular. They're discontinuing them.
And that was all true.
This green Ford that I think you linked, Kyle.
Yeah.
That is horrific.
That's the one.
The Griswolds would buy this thing.
That looks like a very British car to drive for a Ford, though.
He loved it. He loved it so much. Yeah. He came back and bought another car from me after that. He was so pleased. He brought his wife. Like they loved me to death. And I had a good sales pitch for that car, like just talking about the Volvo chassis and comparing Ford to Volvo for some reason as far as safety, just drawing a parallel there, and I've gone through my bullshit like walk around speech, that I did on every single car that was identical in every.
This one comes with the Kevlar belts.
Yeah. These fan belts are made out of Kevlar, the same stuff that make bullet. They are all made out of Kevlar.
You could probably tell people that the windows on their car are bulletproof.
Right. How are they going to go test it?
How are they going to know? If someone tries to shoot them while they're in there, problem solved. Ostensibly, because it's not bulletproof.
Yep, exactly.
I just want to hear how badly I screwed up. All right. Last year, I bought a Ford F-150. It's a nice one. It's the the platinum, right? So it's like the second highest level. And what? Say that again.
Gangsta.
Oh yeah, okay. So, I don't know how much to pay for it. I don't like. It's not my area of expertise. I don't know. So I pull up Edmunds, and it says like what people are paying for it, and I'm like, all right. So this is it. I punch in all the items. It says number is what a good deal is, and they make it, and then I get like $2,000 off of that because there's like some rebates and stuff. Lamb dealing with wolves did okay, somewhere in between.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you're below because those are usually consumer reported values saying like, this is what I was able to negotiate. A lot of them actually do a tremendous amount of work in dollars that don't matter because they're going to own the car for forever. So yeah, I mean, I would imagine you were within what was possible. Now, there's always the rumors that it's best to buy at the end of the month, in the quarter, into that stuff. Like that is 100% true. Like the deals that are available then can be a lot more aggressive because a lot of the money is conditional based on volume. So the rebates they can get are a lot more, have some sensitivity there. They're much more motivated, and they will give you, they will lose money on a car. Like you hear, we're losing money on it. Like that's 100% true. Like they are in that deal losing money. Now it's still a calculated business decision, and you should assume, as most do, like there's something else in it for them, but that doesn't mean it's like right there, easy to get.
Yeah,
and they're
I've
not like in the
explained that a few
truest
times.
sense losing money. Like that's still turned.
Well, they're
off
losing
of their
money on
lot
that individual
for inventory.
car.
On that individual one, but it's opening up more space on the lot for another car.
Well, what
Like
it's
you're
doing
getting
in our
turned.
case, a lot of times our managers had bonuses based on volume, and
Mm-hmm.
like the GM is like, we've sold 497 cars this month. At 500, I get $10,000. So let's crank 3 out in the next 2 hours. Figure it out, you know, and
don't lose a deal.
Yeah, and they'll lose a couple $1,000s to sell a car.
Well, see, the manager that was there while I had the rental car company here in Atlanta was paid on a net profit plan. All right. So whatever profit was reported at the end of the month, he got a percentage of that. And the vulnerability there is that as you inflate the profits by putting more money in the trades, because let's say he talked about an under allowance. All right. If the car is worth $10,000 and I show you 8, essentially I've made $2,000 because, you didn't get all your car is worth. And if I put it on my books at what it's really worth at $10,000, then I've got $2 more grand to assign to this transaction. So he was overvaluing the trades. If it was worth 10, he was calling them worth 15. And these numbers, we're not talking about 10 or 15 grand. We're talking about 180,000 versus 250,000. And so I came in and I would look through deals where they had traded, where they sold cars that I was then trying to trade in, and they would have lost $40,000 or $50,000 after they realized that in doing that he had stolen like $2 or $3 million from the store in inflated profits that weren't that real.
Yeah, that's pretty shady. That's criminal.
Yeah, it didn't work out well for him.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. Yeah, don't do that. My manager was a bit of a criminal himself. He had a different business before he went into car sales, and it was very much an illegal one. But
still sales? Am I getting the vibe right?
Still sales.
Yeah,
though.
right. I think I'm up to speed.
It was so fucked up because as his friends who had all taken the rap for him, this is like an episode of The Wire. As each of his friends would get out of prison they had all taken the rap, he would hire them as salesmen. So like, there's Garrett over there. He doesn't sell a lot of cars, but he gets a lot of cheese deals. It seems like anytime a rapper comes in and needs 5 Dodges, even though we don't sell Dodge here, 5 new Dodges show up and Garrett gets to write those deals up. And there's Greg over there. They make Greg a manager already. Huh.
Now Greg doesn't speak English.
Right.
And Greg is like, I was running the cook. He told me that was private.
Really?
Yeah. He was like, I was running the cook. And Garrett over there, he was muscle. And I'm just like, what the fuck kind of place is this? Why am I feel like I'm the only one around here who's just selling cars, and that's all.
That's why you were such a favorite. It's like, now Kyle, That's the kind of guy you don't owe prison favors to.
It was ridiculous because there were
Latrice is only here because he stopped me from getting raped in the shower.
Yeah, that's literally the case. Garrett had been in jail so long he'd become a black Muslim. He's over there with his Quran over there. I'm just like.
Did he get to wear that cool ass like white sheet with the little helmet? Like
nah, he didn't take it.
That looks so comfortable. I'm so jealous of Saudi Arabians that they get to just go around like that.
It was still only like 4 years after 9/11, so everybody was a little sensitive about that sort of thing. We had those two Somalian guys. One of them's name was Moses, which is fine. You know, you could be Moses in Atlanta, and everybody will buy from you, especially with that snappy African accent. The other's name was Muhammad, and Muhammad went by Mo. And, Mo was a real friendly guy, and he loved to joke about that shit. He was like, "Have you ever seen Black Hawk Down?" And I'm like, yeah, that was me with the RPG. And I'm like,
today we are blowing up prices. It is going to be so good you want to kill yourself.
We have declared jihad on Chevrolet.
We have declared a jihad on high prices.
We are slashing them.
Jesus Christ.
We are cutting the clit off of our profit margin.
We have genital.
How do you top cutting the clit off the profit margin? I think that might be where.
Yeah, those guys were fucking ridiculous. But yeah, that was definitely the case. And so we all hated them. We all hated them because. And 1 month they had it in that they were going to make Garrett Salesman of the Month, which was a big deal. I don't.
Is there money with that or prestige?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mostly prestige, though. That's what I liked about it.
You're less likely to be fired the next month.
Oh, it was hard to get fired. I can go into that for a while, but it was hard. They would just quit, because they're paying you commission against your hours. You would go in the bucket, and you would owe them. They don't give a fuck if you sit at one of those desks. There's plenty of desks. Have a seat, young man. Go for it. But make Garrett Salesman of the Month. It was the fix was in. They were just feeding him. Just in one day, 6 cars, and like it was that instance I mentioned a minute ago.
Is Salesman of the Month just tied into sales, or is it like a judgment call?
It's how many cars you got out.
The volume.
So he's earned Salesman of the Month, except they're all cheese deals, which means they just he doesn't have to.
They've been given to him. He's filling out paperwork.
They're negotiated by management. He gets to do the paperwork, and he gets the little bit of profit that gets assigned to them. But more importantly, he gets the units, which is how you're evaluated.
Yeah, and his commission is rising on each one. So you might get 20%. You might get like 20% commission if you sell one car, but by the time you get to 20, you might be getting 38% or 40% commission on these things. It works out really nicely if you can get out 20 fucking cars. It's hard to do that though, unless you're being fed. And so like Young Jeezy, the rapper, comes in and he wanted 5.
A lot of rappers in these stories.
And
I don't know any of them. What did you say, Ed? I talked over you.
Lil Hoodlum.
You're better off for not having to deal with him.
With Young Jeezy. Well, he came in.
Sounds like Ed knows Young Jeezy as well.
He's a little fella.
Yep, they're all little.
So funny.
All of them. All
You
of
guys
them.
both know Young Jeezy
Call him
and
Little
Busta
Jeezy.
Rhymes.
I could have beat the shit out of Young Jeezy with one arm tied behind my back at 19 years old, and he was a grown ass man. Just little punk dude. Anyway, he wanted 5 Chargers, I think. The Challenger wasn't a thing yet, so the Charger was like the cool Dodge, and I think you could get him with like a big engine in him, maybe a 6-liter or something like that. In any case, he wanted 5 of these things, one for each of his guys, and he wanted them all the same. So we lost him.
Oh, we lost him.
So Young Jeezy looks kind of tough and badass when it. I assume
he may
Jeezy
have bulked up in the last 15 years.
Well, since 2004,
and he's worth 15
happened.
million. Dude, you should. I'm going to link this guy. I hope this works for you.
You're good. He's saying that Young Jeezy has bulked up in the interim period of time.
Dude, look at him. This guy looks like
gotten bigger.
He would kick my ass. This guy.
He didn't look like that. I promise you.
I'll take Young Jeezy, and I haven't even seen the photo.
I linked it.
He could total a Lamborghini with the best of them. I can tell you that much.
Okay.
Yeah, he killed
He's 5'9". Yeah, that's what I thought.
5'9" celebrity height is like 5'7" real person height.
He's a little guy. I'm telling you, he's a
Okay.
little dude. Like we were all taking note of it. His boys were large gentlemen, though.
Do they just look big next to him?
No, they looked big next to a Durango.
Okay. Okay.
They looked big because they were fucking big. And I want 5 of these, and we're a corporate store, so we've got every make and model. He just calls the Dodge dealership and gets 5 of these things brought over and sells. And Garrett just doing the paperwork. And we hated this. And the I can't think of his name, but it was the African guy who got the car stolen that time. He had the most cars. He maybe had 18. I maybe had 13, and Garrett had like, I don't know, 19 or something. It was like neck and neck. And so I was like, we're not going to have this, dude. We're not going to have this. Saturday's coming up. They're really going to have to feed him because I'm splitting every car I do for the rest of the month with you. And so because I can get my half unit. My other buddy's like, me too. Let's fucking do this. They want to play dirty. We're playing dirty. And nobody's taking note of what we're doing. We just fill out the paperwork, put 2 names on it, and it goes in the system.
So why is that good, right? Like you're getting half a unit instead of a whole unit. Like,
yeah, I'm losing money.
Not just money, but even units, right? When you split a deal, do you both get a unit?
We get half a unit.
So I don't know why.
This is mostly spite driven.
This is spiked.
I don't see how it even makes the numbers bigger. Because when you sell a car, you only get half.
He gets 0.5 every time I sell a car.
And
I'm going to sell
his own cars.
Oh, wait.
So, yeah, if
you're
Kyle
not
sells 2
doing it
cars,
for you.
and that
You're
other guy
just
sells
doing
2
it to hook
cars.
up your friend.
Yeah,
He's not
I'm hooking
splitting
him
with
up.
you, too.
Yeah, no, he's not.
It's a reverse big score.
Yeah,
I
I'm hooking
understand.
him up with half of everything I do.
I thought
so
you were
is my
both
buddy
splitting.
Saul. So Saul and I are like, let's fucking do this. Let's fucking go hard in the paint here. And we each get out like 6 more cars or something in the last couple days, and 6 more cars go on to our buddy's record. And so CJ, it comes time to count up the cars and figure out who's the salesman of the month. It's rolled over, and we've got these big meetings in the morning, and there's 25 salesmen and 4 or 5 managers, and this is the meeting where money gets literally thrown in the air and wads of cash get tossed around. Not like thousands of dollars, but hundreds of dollars.
You get a 20. You get a 20.
It'd be wads of ones a lot of the times, just to get the crowd fired up.
To get you excited because it looks like a lot. Yeah.
He's announcing bonuses for like X amount of units and all this time-based stuff and all these ways that.
Is he doing like the Wolf of Wall Street, like moonwalking across the stage, like getting everybody hyped up, like pulling women's tits out?
I mean, not none of that, but he's getting us fired up, and he's being mean to the people who are underperforming. Like he's shitting on some people, he's pumping other people up, and he's throwing cash money, and he's like, and who was salesman of the month last month? Let's see it. And you could tell like he thinks it's Garrett, and they're like. Garrett with 19 cars. All right, very nice. And I can't think of the other guy's name, but let's just call him Pete, even though he's from Africa. That was not his name.
Bunte, yeah.
Pete had 24. 24 out of Pete in August. Let's hear it for Pete. And he's like, wait, what the fuck? Garrett, you didn't get the most out? What the fuck happened, Garrett? What the fuck happened? Like, man, I don't. I gave you 15. Like you only sold 4 cars like on your own in 30 days.
I love that he's shitting on number 2 in this situation.
Yeah, well, it was like
because he wouldn't have been a
his
natural
buddy.
number 2.
I get it. That's why I love it. Yeah.
That's the guy that gave away half his own deals, right? that flies. Like we're not worried about that.
I still ended up with like 16 or something, giving away 3
Couple
cars or
of them,
something
yeah.
like that. I had had a great month too, and Saul had it. We were doing well, and my buddy gave me some cash to make up for those deals afterwards, and took me out for drink. That wasn't agreed upon going in. That wasn't like, all right, you give me money and I give you cars. There was no deal like that.
This isn't fraudulent.
No, it really it wouldn't be fraudulent even if it were agreed upon, because it's some sort of salesman's race, and it's all like just a gentleman's bet in most regard, really. But afterwards he was like, that was cool, guys. That was really cool. And he took us out for drinks. He gave me a couple $100.